Hey there, guys. I'm here with my Elimination Chamber 2024 review and ratings for all of these matches. Overall, I think it was a very kind of mid pay-per-view. It definitely was nothing special, but it was nothing horrible by any means. First up, I want to say, MVP of the show, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton looked so good in that women's Elimination Chamber. She has such a big future within the WWE. She created probably the best spot of the night when it comes to the most impressive move. She's just so good. First up, let's go to the first match that was a part of the pre-show. This is the Kabuki Warriors, the women's tag team champions, versus Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, and the Kabuki Warriors ended up taking that one and retaining their titles as I expected. I never thought in any way Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell would beat them. Alright, now was this match amazing? No. Was it horrible? No. But you could watch this any week of Raw. This is like your basic Raw match. This could show up tomorrow on Raw, and I wouldn't see it as a great match even for just a regular show, because it was just very, very mid. But I mean, everybody looked great in the match. I thought really the Kabuki Warriors stood out with how much chemistry they still have. We know they've always been a great tag team, but both of them are aging and they haven't teamed for a while, and then now they're really starting to get back in the groove of teaming together, and you could really tell a lot of chemistry is there. And so I'm going to give this match a B-. Next up, we have the Women's Elimination Chamber match, and I personally think this was better than the Men's Elimination Chamber match. All women looked very good in this match. Naomi had some great spots, and as I have already discussed, Tiffany Stratton looked the best on this entire show, and she had some great spots in this match. Although really everybody in this match looked very well, I think the ending was good. It kind of ended really fast, with the last two people going out right there within 10 seconds of each other. And so Becky Lynch ended up taking the win, which I think is the correct choice. It always was. It was very, very predictable. They were already kind of building up Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. So the storyline is just right there. It's just they really had to actually do it. And they were smart and did it. Becky versus Rhea is a very WrestleMania-worthy match. Two of the biggest names in women's wrestling history. So I think it's going to be a great match. And for a letter grading of the match, I am going to give it an A. Next up, we have for the Undisputed Tag titles, we have the Judgment Day Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus the Catch Republic, I think they're going by now. And that is Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And I'm not just getting their name wrong because they're irrelevant. It's just because they just got this name, and I really thought they were going to go by British Strong Style. But I think it's the New Catch Republic that they're going by. But before we get anywhere else, I do want to say, WWE, please don't ever have a PLE starting at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. I fell asleep during the entrances of the Judgment Day. That's when I fell asleep, and I didn't wake up all the way until the Nia Jax match. So that means I had to rewatch this match. I had to rewatch the Grayson Waller segment, and I also had to rewatch the entire Men's Elimination Chamber. So I did a lot of rewatching. But overall, my expectations were actually pretty high for this match, just because all the guys in this match can really go in the ring. But the match was a little bit, not even just a little bit, it was very sloppy. And you wouldn't expect that with how good these guys are in the ring. I guess they don't really have the chemistry together or something like that. It just seems like every other move, they're going for a dive and then they kind of miss each other, so it makes their moves not look impactful at all. And then it just seems like every other move, they're kind of missing the mark. Yet overall, it wasn't the longest match of all time, but it wasn't short by any means. I think it was a great time for these guys, and since the Judgment Day won, of course, Dirty Dominic Mysterio is cheating, and I'm actually kind of glad he was cheating, because I don't want the New Catch Republic to just, start losing right when they formed as a tag team. I want them to be taken seriously. So yeah, they kind of got cheated over, but not really, because Dominic got kicked out, so he wasn't there to mess around anymore. But, I mean, they were still cheating in the match, so it kind of takes away from them losing fair and square. But kind of like with the women's tag match, I feel like this is just another match you could see on any Monday Night Raw. I mean, it was an above average match. I'm going to give it a B+, but it's nothing I've never seen on Raw. And then they had the Grayson Waller Effect show, and it's kind of hard to rate a show. I'm just going to give it a thumbs up. I think it was great. The comedy was there with the Aussie and everything. Grayson Waller, he's just so good. I love Grayson Waller. And then Austin Theory was funny also when he was kind of doing the if you smell, and then Seth Rollins attacked him. And that was funny. I liked that moment. And yeah, just overall, I think the segment was great. And then we have the men's Elimination Chamber, and I was kind of mad that they didn't throw Montez Ford in there. I know Montez Ford's nobody that's ever going to have a threat to win the match, but Montez Ford was an absolute highlight reel in last year's Elimination Chamber. So now Logan Paul kind of had the job of getting some high-flying highlights, yet he didn't have as many as Montez did or as John Morrison did that year. So yeah, it was kind of more impactful when it comes to like combat moves. But yeah, overall, I think it was a very enjoyable match. The constant feud with Kevin Owens and Logan Paul was constantly showed. I think that was great. The outcome of the entire match ended up being great. Drew McIntyre was the correct choice, and they went with that. Very smart. And they kind of at the end, when Logan Paul came back with the brass knuckles to knock out Randy Orton to allow Drew to win, are they kind of hinting at Randy versus Logan Paul at Mania for the U.S. title? Or are they going to do Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens again? They were also hinting at that. And then we've also got the media thinking it's going to be LA Knight versus Logan Paul. So who is going against Logan Paul at WrestleMania? There is so many options, but I'm sure we'll figure out very soon. But yeah, overall, I think it was a very decent Elimination Chamber. Nothing overboard, but nothing horrible. Oh yeah, and somehow I forgot, AJ Styles actually showed up and hit LA Knight with a chair. So I think that's what they're going to do with LA Knight. I don't know how I forgot that. So that's probably who he's going to be going against at Mania. But I did kind of want to see Logan Paul versus LA Knight just for the feuds and the build-up purposes. But I'm giving this an A-. I gave the women's an A, and I gave this an A- because it wasn't quite as good as the women's. Next up is for the Women's Heavyweight Championship. This is between Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. Going into this match, my excitement levels were not that high because I wasn't expecting a good match from Nia Jax, not Rhea Ripley. We know Rhea Ripley can put on a great match. She showed that last WrestleMania with Charlotte Flair. Yet Nia Jax, we have never seen a great match from her before this match. There might be a few decent ones, but she doesn't have any very good ones. But it worked. Their power collided, and it worked well. They had a very big variety of moves. It wasn't by any means a squash match or anything like that. Now, even though I never had a doubt in my mind that Rhea Ripley would lose, I know that's not going to happen going into WrestleMania. Definitely not by Nia Jax. Nia Jax just doesn't have that to her to where I think she's going to be a women's world champion. And of course, it makes sense to be the main event because Rhea Ripley is from Australia. That crowd loved her. Oh yeah, and since she's in the Judgment Day, this is related. I forgot to say it about Dominic Mysterio. Australia absolutely hates Dominic Mysterio. That might be one of the loudest boos we've ever heard in wrestling history. Every time his face is shown on the screen, there is loud booing. But yeah, overall, Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley was a very solid match. So overall, I'm going to give this an A-, and that's very good considering this is a Nia Jax match. I'm not trying to constantly hate on Nia. She's just not somebody I ever expect a good match out of. Alright, so there's my Elimination Chamber Perth 2024 review and ratings. Overall, like I said, it was a very kind of mid-show, middle of the road, nothing too spectacular, yet it definitely wasn't trash. So I'll see you guys on the next one, and I hope you enjoyed your Elimination Chamber.